to you, Dibal. That was the PS Department State of Education, Benya Kipsang, who just left the Mamangina Girls High School here in Mombasa, just talking to them and telling them that this is the time that they need to prove themselves. And of course, he just came here a few minutes after opening the examination container at Uhuru Nakaze building. So as you can see, the jubilation on the ground, they are indeed very happy, and I'm sure that they have prepared adequately to sit for their examination. And remember that today the English examinations will be administered in school, and I'm not sure the Bali we can listen to them because they are really happy, and I'm sure they're excited after the tour by the PS Benya Kipsang. This is the first school that Belia has managed to visit after opening the examination container a few minutes ago. And of course, some of the things that he touched on is the integrity of the exams, and saying that the government has put in place all the necessary measures to ensure that there will be no irregularities, and of course warning the examination officers of being true to this course and ensuring that the exercise will be conducted all through the entire 2 weeks, and of course to maintain the integrity of exams. And another thing that Benya Kipsang says that the Ministry of Education has significantly recorded a reducing number of school teenage pregnancies that are currently, or that they compared to last year, that they are being experienced. And I'm not sure if this is what they are going to do.
Clearly, the excitement there is palpable. This is in Mombasa Mamangina Secondary School. And even Kevin Mutai cannot actually give his sign-off as well because of how they're really talked about today. And we wish them well, of course. They're sitting, or they're beginning their English theory exam this morning, and this will run for 16 days. The exam will end on November the 27th. Also, we are aware that the Cabinet Secretary, George Magoha, has also just reassured Kenyans that they are relying on the field officers to ensure there is no cheating in the national examination. And of course, throughout the day, we shall be following what is happening on the ground and of course, keeping you apprised on the current state of play as far as the KCSE is concerned. I'm still holding court with my panelist here, James Nyikal, who is a member of parliament for Seme. Also, we do have with us Isaac Manyora, who is a senator, nominated senator. We have also Richard Onyonka, who is a member of parliament for Kitutu Chache, and we have also Manyora, who's our resident analyst. We continue with the conversation. I hope you've not really lost your track of thought. Yes. Before the we promised to circle back with James Jikal. You saying before the politics?
I said before the politics, we wanted also to wish them success, but point out really to this government. Why are you making exams so important? Exams are nothing. You can't measure the success of an education system through exams. An exam that is so one-sided in favor of a tiny minority in the country. When you pit a student somewhere from Manyora in some mad world school with another candidate in Makini doing the same exam, and you are trying to stop the world because of an exam that is surely there to perpetuate elitism and, you know, this is, and the militarization of exams. I was in the village. The presence of police in village schools, people who are seeing policemen for the first time and they are sitting an exam. What are we telling our children, honestly? I think Magoha and Matiangi must be called to order and be told you cannot reduce an education to an exam. An exam is a very minor part. In fact, in some countries, the bar, if you ever showed somebody else what a student has scored, is a criminal offense. It is between the teacher and the student. And they are doing much better than us. There are much more things we can do to improve the quality of education in this country than focusing on exams. Exams will always remind us of the inequalities in this country.
Right.
And an unequal society such as the one we are creating through this education system is not sustainable. Matiangi and Magoha And by extension, the government ought to know that let us develop education and not exams.
A good point to raise, and I think we shall just also latch on it as we wind up also on the Kibra by-election. Before we come to you, it will be unfair for Dr. Nyikal not to really comment. I promise you also
Yeah,
circle back with
what,
yes,
what, I was
finish his comment.
what I was really commenting is that if you look at the NASA issue and you want to take the Kibra case and say NASA is dead, those principles that were in NASA, Mheshimiwa Wetangula, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo, Mheshimiwa Mudavadi, Prime Minister Raila, if you conclude that these people will never work again, this alliance is dead, actually I think politically we would be unwise to do that. The structure itself, as I said, may not be working now, but I would not be surprised if in the future you actually even have a bigger coalition that involves actually all of them together. You must remember that where they come from, like this, when you are talking of Ukambani, there's also a strife at that area, the leadership struggle at that area, which will reflect. My point was, yes, in Kibera, NASA has not worked as one. It would have been probably worked better if it did. But that is not to say you will never see these elements working together again.
Okay. All right.
And let me now say about the exams. Professor Manyora was actually talking like an educationist, because really, this is an assessment. We have terminal assessment which is done at the end, and we have given it so much prominence. I appreciate that they make us feel confident that the exam will be done well. That is necessary. Having accepted that your main assessment is terminal assessment, the best assessment is education, is actually continuous assessment. Because one exam done at the end depends on so many factors, and you don't ask even many questions, one single question, and you think you have covered the whole subject. Whereas if you had continuous assessment that is given the appropriate weight, then you cover the knowledge that people have. Passing exams is not the same as knowing. You may pass exams and you still don't know much. But if you know much, you will definitely pass an exam. I think it's a very big principle that Professor Manyora was actually bringing in.
Right. Richard Onyonka.
For me, I would like to disagree completely with Professor Manyora. Why was the police and the National Intelligence Network and the National Security Apparatus brought into all what they call now the interministerial arrangement on the running and management of the exams? It is not because it is exciting to see police officers managing these exams. It is because Kenyans have just become thieves. I mean, you realize what has been going on is that money, the exam had been monetized, money was exchanging hands between the stakeholders. You're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the examiners, you're talking about everybody else. What I would agree with both Professor Nyikal and Dr. Nyikal and Professor Manyora is this. Let us remove the security aspect of the exams, which then means, Dr. Nyikal, that if you use the continuous assessment cards, which students can do at the end of the year, in fact, then you may not even necessarily need an exam. And we need to standardize that. But the reason, Professor, why you see these APs and all these other guys and the chiefs being brought on board is because by the time the exams are being delivered to a local school, by midnight, the whole thing was already opened up and the exam was being given to students for them to sit and pass the exam, quote unquote, pass the exams. To rehearse. So this matter has been so complex, Prof. This matter has been such a weighty matter. I don't think that we need to look at Makoha and Matiang'i and say, oh, you people are militarizing an examination. No. You are in the education sector, you are a professor. Please come up with a paper explaining how you think we can come in, have exams, whereby the police and the military don't have to be engaged, where chiefs don't have to be engaged.
Right, thank you. I think that's a debate for another day.
Another day.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it is
because
much more complex. It is much more.
Let's come back to Isaac Mwaura, because we have also Dr. Mutua dismissing Elodo Walo and also Hamisi Butichi of Ford Kenya and Mariga as non-starters. He says, quote unquote, these people have been brought to Kibra as projects of individuals with vested interests. They are strangers and have been imposed on the people of Kibra. Please reject them and support the ODM candidate. This is what he says.
I think I want to dismiss his allegations. The contempt they deserve. That's not the way you enter the national politics, Mr. Mutua. Because everybody has a right to run. I mean, really.
Yeah.
You can't dismiss other people's candidates simply because you're supporting one for ODM. And I don't think that's also how you make a case for Imran. It would have been better if he would have been speaking about the fact that Imran would continue the legacy of the brother and also to unite people, you know, because by the end of the day, and that's where Dr. Jikal, we are differing with you. Let's not pretend that NASA is together. And the question is,
I didn't say so.
the question that I'm asking myself is, if Raila Odinga is seen to be reneging on all the promises, all the alliances he's making, he's good to reinvent himself, that's fine. But how far can you go in this regard? I mean, do you want to carry people with you? Or do you want to say that the NASA agreement is too difficult, and because then NASA never won the election, then it is null and void? The nullity of it is the fact that there was no success in whatever was being hunted for. So we really are seeing a situation where some people are punching above their weight, and they have very good, solace and comfort, and they are being welcomed by Raila Odinga. So ideally, let's just accept the ball, as you said initially. NASA is dead, period. In fact, remember some time back we were saying ODM was very good at the optics because they were using Owalo, they were using Osotsi, who is an ANC nominated MP, like the way I'm nominating Jubilee, and Sifuna to attack Musalia. So that's what we are seeing. And also, in addition to this, we need to look at the composition of the tribes in Kibra. Certainly, I think also Mudavadi did a miscalculation by having Owalo as a candidate. If you had gone for Butichi, for example, because he was free, I mean, he ran on
Manyora.
ODM.
Why are you leaving me?
Or Professor Manyora as a resident in Vihiga.
Yes.
The only problem having Professor
Manyora
Manyora,
he lives in Kibra.
he lives in Kibra, but his constituency is
I live in
Vihiga.
Kibra, by the way, for
But
many
also,
years.
Professor Manyora is surprising because he sounds like an anarchist. Sometimes he supports structures and systems, law and order, and that is what Matiang'i is doing with Magoha. On the other hand, he wants exams to be secret. He wants transparency and accountability.
All over the map.
Exactly.
Dibal,
He defined the death of a political organization. What is the definition of it? Other than the ideas that are there, the people that are there that can transform themselves into another structure altogether. How do you define the death of a political organization?
But you know,
They really never die.
Is called a successor of NASA.
Yeah.
And I would say not necessarily because Musalia was not in the equation. So whatever is going to be born out of the handshake, remember if people didn't show up at Uhuru Park, is exactly what is happening. You didn't show up to Uhuru Park, and so after that
All right,
it is...
let's wind up on it. Richard Onyoko, you had something to say?
For me, once again, Dibal, what I really, really pray for and what I wish for is for Prime Minister Raila to have a second thought about what he's doing. The simple reason for that is that we were better off being in NASA or being in this coalition that we've been in than when each one of us is out there. Chances are, separately, we are going to hang alone. If we stick together, we can manage this Jubilee big thing.
But you're hanging on NASA by the fingernails, which is truly dead by right now. As it is, if he really brings and woos all these governors, because politics is all about perception, right? And perception on the ground is NASA is no longer
But you
there.
see,
And
but
numbers.
let me tell you,
Just a moment.
wait. You dismiss Kalonzo on your own peril.
Who has dismissed Kalonzo?
No,
I haven't.
anybody, not you, not
yes.
you. I'm saying
yes.
whether it is Prime Minister Raila's team or anybody. I mean, for me, I think he had to do this because of Kibra. He had to do some things because here he was targeting the Kamba vote. And most likely they may deliver that Kamba vote. But if Kalonzo had been with him, I can assure you the 90% of the Kamba vote would have been with him. He would have targeted and had a meeting with Wetangula. Chances are Butichi would never have run. And the Luhya community from the Bukusu side would have supported.
So from your assessment, you think Raila Odinga has actually sidelined, other members of the NASA, coalition?
That is the scenario now.
So you never talk?
No.
So
people are not talking. The truth is, people are not talking.
People
right
are not
now.
talking?
No.
All right, and this is a bellwether to you actually Jubilee winning this particular of course, race, and of course, what this also is a big one because the
And
pictures
that is why
will be
Mwaura
happening
is very
2022.
happy. Mwaura and company are very happy. The Jubilee actually got a through pass.
Jubilee, I think.
Even Jubilee is
I
not
think
one.
we are missing at the point, Deba.
Jubilee is not one.
Come 2022, you see,
Tanga,
Tanga,
Tanga, kieleweke. That's what I'm saying. We are discussing.
Just a moment. Let's
I
hear,
think we are
let's hear
missing
from.
the. I think we are missing the point.
And the point will be.
People, the handshake team, the big boys in the
Yeah, the
country,
handshake is the
they
one
don't
that is
need
working.
Jubilee, they don't need
NASA,
NASA.
yeah.
The closest they may need is Jubisa, which is Jubilee and
NASA.
now, that will mean Ruto will be left hanging of some small bit that is left of NASA, of Jubilee. And the likes of Mudavadi, if they don't take care with Wetangula, they'll be holding the tail, just the tail of the animal that used to be called NASA. As Uhuru and Raila move forward with Jubisa now. You see now, that team, they are looking for it. In order to create the team for 2022, you must not only destroy all the teams like Jubilee and the NASA, you must also destroy politicians who will be at the table demanding positions by virtue of their weight in previous formations. So you must find a way of dealing with Kalonzo because he will demand something and you don't have it. Mudavadi might demand something and you don't have it. So deal with them. And that's what exactly is happening. And the Kibra is giving us a glimpse into what's going to happen as we move towards 2022. And once the BBI report is released, if it is going to be released, and if it goes in the direction people are expecting it will go all the way to a referendum, you will see how big formations like NASA and Jubilee will be destroyed through a Scotch method, as we learned in history from two there. You will see how political heavyweights will be destroyed so that they do not come and make demands on the table.
But
when
I
politicians
would
just
call it,
come.
no, no, no.
Structure.
Let me say this. Because
Language
the
is
same
very
argument,
important.
the same argument is also true
Yes.
that if you have your lover today
Yes.
and you decide to discard him or discard her for a slave queen,
Yes.
that lover also is bound to find another lover. The same way the NASA, Jubinasa as you call it, is going to discard the side of NASA, Musalia, then you have Oparanya, Wetangula, you have, Musalia now, the Kalonzo, you have Ngilu, Kibuda axis. Then also Ruto
Is going to cross.
is also going to get new allies. So don't think that
In a
now
manner of
because-
collecting leftovers now.
but which is
You see,
okay.
leftovers are
it's
not very
okay
important.
because when you look at in 2007,
Yeah.
the people who are with Uhuru and Ruto were Balala and Gilu who are with the Pentagon, the other side.
Yes.
So certainly don't just look at it from one point of view. And also remember when you look at this headline here, the nation, there is also a generational struggle.
Yes.
You know, there are new entrants. There are people who want also to be said that even us, we are Kenyans, we are born, and we can also have a stake at the table. Don't ignore that. And the youth dividend is also a factor in this politics.
Okay.
I
the
wanted to
dividend
just
is a
bring
factor.
language.
Language?
You see, if you say destroy, then actually it's negative and people feel very uncomfortable about it. But really, if you have a new vision, let's say you have the BBI and what it stands for, which I personally believe in, and you want to deliver this, there has to be restructuring of all the parties that were in the old dispensation. I wouldn't call it destroying, you restructure. And that's why I was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bigger organization. He has even given his name. And this will take care of even new entrants, the old entrants. You are restructuring
The
to
BBI.
move to the future.
Right sizing. We retrench the people.
Now,
we
it is
retrench
not
the
called
people, then we say, no,
destroying.
we are no longer retrenching them.
it's called
We are right sizing. What are we talking about?
No. The
Phillips
nature
is
of
not
politics in the ball is very polemic. There is action and reaction. The moment these people go this way, the other one. Your friend's friend is my friend. Your friend's enemy is my enemy. That is what is going to happen. And people cannot just sit back and say, oh, you think that I'm not the one in charge of Ukambani, then I will also join your
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's look at this because for this, I think after the handshake, the political expediency or the political capital of Raila Odinga is being tested. And I think Kibra now is a good testing ground of whether, Raila Odinga really got some thumbs up with the majority of Kenyans as far as handshake is concerned, or is lost also is political capital as far as the handshake is concerned. From your own assessment, because I think this will be the testing ground. If, in the unlikely scenario, he loses, what then happens to the political capital of Raila Odinga in Kibra?
People will desert him. The moment Raila loses...
Let's go sequentially. We begin with them and then come to you. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, like I said before, a loss for Raila and Kibra should not be on the cards. It is too painful to contemplate for him. It will be disastrous. You know, he said he lost in Ugenya and he said people stand, win or lose, which is true. But for Kibra, he will not use that language. The picture that will come out of Kibra will be devastating. You see, it will be serious. But I don't need to say more than that. Just allow me to say that Manyora, even as Kalonzo and the rest have been left and they are looking for partners, they'll find themselves in a very awkward situation. Imagine somebody like Mudavadi trying to deputize Ruto. Imagine Kalonzo telling the Kamba, I'm going to deputize somebody like Ruto. It doesn't work. So those calculating to push them out or to restructure as Nyikalu one are aware of those complexities. But just to answer your question.
Isn't that what really Boni Halwale is pushing for?
Yeah, but
that
to answer
you,
your question more directly.
You as a Luya community, you fail actually to garner this particular seat. Yeah. Why can't you, concretize yourself together as a bloc and become or deputize William Ruto?
The trick is, if you are from Western and you are Mudavadi and you are not going for the presidency, the only person you can deputize and it is not out is Raila. Now, it means therefore, if somebody from Western has to deputize Ruto, it has to be a smaller boy like Ruto, like not Ruto, sorry. Like Halwale or Sai or Didmas Banaza. You see, it is so tricky. And the handshake people are aware. But to answer your question more directly, Deba, Kibra is the testing ground. People who will be injured in Kibra, if they are from the ODM and NASA side, will pay for it very dearly. Very dearly. The confidence that Raila has will be tested if this young man, what do you call him, Mariga, makes a good showing. Not even winning. I said like just getting 10,000 votes when Imran is getting even 18. Just like it happened when this senator, there was a by-election, it's not Migori or was Homa Bay.
Yeah. No,
this a young man got 70,000, a 27-year man against Ochila Yako. That you could not have dismissed that. It shows something is happening in Luo Nyanza, and Raila should have learned from that. He didn't, and we saw what? Migori. Now you follow with, that is a pattern. And the patterns in politics are very destructive, especially if they are not in your favor.
And patterns also create perception.
Yeah,
yes.
perception are everything in politics.
I'll use an example we had about a month ago. You saw the election in Kilifi. It was an election that everybody actually believed that Aisha Juma was going to deliver for the DP. Aisha Juma didn't. But Governor Joho and Governor Kingi knew exactly the implication of the loss of that election. If ODM had lost that seat, then it meant that in Coast County, the two coast counties, you're talking about Kwale, Kilifi, and Mombasa, then ODM was actually going to be in trouble. So the implication and significance of this seat of Kibra is that, for me, I don't want to say that ODM should have a large margin. No, ODM should win. If they don't win, if my party wins, Fort Kenya with Engineer Butichi, I can tell you that Fort Kenya will pick up 10, 15 points in popularity. If Mariga wins, you will see how Mwaura and his friends in Jubilee will be dancing in Nairobi all over for the next 1 year. And they'll be quoting that. If they lose, they'll say, at least we tried. So the highest loser in this whole exercise is actually going to be Prime Minister Raila. And my hope that out of this experience, whether ODM wins this seat or loses it, I really feel very strongly that I think Prime Minister Raila needs to have a rethink. He needs to go back to the drawing board. The people who have worked with him, some of them have really sacrificed to work with him. And many of them really, really feel bitter that he seems like he wants to dump them. My feeling is Let him look for Kalonzo, let him look for Weta, let him look for Musalia. Let them sit down and let them iron out the issues. For me,
But why should you bury your head in the sand? The writing is on the wall.
No, really.
Yeah,
politics is the art of the possible.
No, you are a jilted lover as it is right now.
Politics is the art of the possible. And I know what the critical issue is, and I said it yesterday somewhere. This money of political parties, let the big party, which is ODM, take half of it. Let the other half be shared amongst the other political parties that were in the coalition. We went and hunted this elephant. We've got the elephant. Don't tell us we can't even get the skin. Even when
We will give you the ears.
I think what is happening here, Moses Wetangula is famously quoted as saying that divorce
it's
will
going to be
messy
and noisy.
Noisy and with casualties. That is what we are hearing. Because when I hear my good friend Richard Onyonka speaking, saying, kuja nyumbani, bado tunapendana, tuongee maneno, you solve it. There is a pattern that is established here. If you look at Migori, of course, the ODM candidate won, that is Ochilo Ayako, my colleague in the Senate. But Eric Gicheru did a very good, fight. If you look at the issue of, Ugenya, you had David Ouma Ochieng, who was seen as a Ruto candidate. So for Luo Nyanza, Ruto created a perception that he had created some inroads there. If you look at Kitui Chapchap, really, Mutua does not see eye to eye with Ruto. I mean, they have had their own run-in, and so therefore, that's why he's giving the credit to Raila, but also now edging out Kalonzo. You see the issue of Malindi, really. Juma was vanquished. In fact, I think I have just read that people are collecting signatures to recall her. So, and you could see the braggadocio that was happening during Machujade by Joho, and even asking my good friend Gladys Wanga and the team Embrace to rise, and the handshake team. So it's a pattern. And of course, Ruto was vanquished at that point. He looked very, diminished. And then you could see when Raila stood up to speak, the crowd was with the Baba, as it were. So then this is now the final contest. And remember, the ball, already Langata has gone to Jubilee. The MP for Langata is the unlikely Nixon Koril, a Kalenjin in Nairobi. I think he could be the first Kalenjin MP in Nairobi, and he replaced Olum. So if then Kibra goes, for example, then that's it. I mean, Raila would be seen like he's now on his diminished rate of return, and now Ruto will have very new suitors. People will be asking, what is the magic of this person? Because also the perception is the handshake team, which also is a part of government, is a part of it, also is not with Ruto. So Raila must win, and must win decisively on this election. Must win even nominally, just to continue with the narrative, but decisively so, to show that then this is my base. Remember, when there is any contestation in the country, where does Raila run to show up with support? It's the same Kibra. So this is home base. It's like the Jubilee losing in Githurai Market, because that's where we go when we feel we are under siege. So this is his home base.
So it's sink or swim for Raila Odinga and Kibra.
Let me put it this way. We must look at really Kenyan politics and any politics with a bigger view. What is it that the country wants to obtain? And the issue of the handshake and BBI that Professor Manyora was saying we are leaving is actually important. Because for once, if you asked me, what are the 3 or 4 things that is killing this country? 1 is tribalism. 2 is corruption. 3 are election issues that we never can resolve, and we always fight at the end of it, and maybe bring insecurity. Now we must have a bigger picture that is addressing that. And that is why the BBI, the handshake and the BBI, really should be an important part in this. But having said that, in politics, a struggle. So you go in, you can win or lose. But I've been in Kibera quite a bit. I don't feel this sense that ODM is going to lose Kibera. But as you said, in the unlikely event it loses, it is like in any struggle, you lose battles, you can even lose big battles. But that is not to say that if that happens, then you are done. Actually, great leaders is seen through the ability to emerge from what sometimes we look like this is the end. We must rise like the phoenix from the ashes. But I don't even see that happening. So to preoccupy ourselves with saying, if Raila loses, it looks like Raila will lose Kibra. That we are going for Kibra. I'm very confident we'll get it. But in the very, very, very unlikely event, then it is something to look at and say, okay, we are moving forward. This is what we wanted for the country. This has shown us something. And in election, the outcome of elections, the biggest one is number one. There's number two. There's no number two in an election. You are number one. You can then analyze, I won, but I won by this margin. What does that mean? So in the bigger struggle for the future, now you fix those ones. Even if you lose, I lost. But what does this mean? So you look for the future and struggle for the bigger picture.